having your purpose is what Neville Goddard says, par excellence, of living in the end. And if you can be focused on your purpose, if you can be focused on your why, then you're going to be able to, shall we say, transcend and pass through any obstacles, guys. So it's sort of like a workaround in the law of attraction we've talked about in a lot of previous videos. The fact that law of attraction always applies on a film roll, and you can get beyond all of the laws of attraction, and any law, by the way, by going into the unity, by knowing who you are. But oftentimes on a film roll, you will pass through contrast. Abraham Hicks talks about this. But what did Abraham Hicks say? Abraham Hicks, of course, teaches the law of attraction that desire plus belief equals how fast the manifestation comes and whether it comes. And belief, of course, in that is tied in with resistance, of course. It's tied in with resistance. So if you have a belief about something but there's disbelief about it, or you don't believe you can do it, there's resistance in that, and of course that'll slow it down in the law of attraction paradigm. But what Abraham Hicks always said, probably not as often as she should have said, if the desire is strong enough, guys, it cuts through any resistance. And there comes a point where it doesn't matter what the resistance is. And of course, the primary aspect of this is when you know who you are and you don't even care about seeing it in the physical, then the paradox, so to speak, is that you will be it and you'll be living in it, and you won't care about what happens on the physical. And that's focus, and a lot of that comes from purpose. I remember when I interviewed Jim Rogers just a few weeks ago, he said that if you do what you love, it's not even going to matter whether you're successful or not. You're not even going to be paying attention to that because you're going to be having so much fun. This also ties in to purpose, guys. So how do you find your purpose? Because once you find your purpose, here's the main aspect of this. If you're working from purpose and you're living in purpose, which I believe is synonymous with living in the end, then you're going to be in the state of flow. And many authors have talked about this, whether in sports or business or any other disciplines. When you're in flow, guys, that means that you flow over, through, and around any obstacle, and you're not even noticing the obstacles. I remember Marcus Aurelius said, the obstacle is the way. And he said that focus is like a flame that burns everything before it. So any resistance just becomes fuel for that flame. I'm paraphrasing probably very badly here because I don't have the Meditations of Marcus Aurelius right in front of me. But the obstacle is the way, and there is no obstacle for someone who's working from his or her purpose. And you need to search no further for this than in the autobiographies and the biographies of great performers in every discipline, whether that be business and so on and so forth. Look at Elon Musk. He had a purpose to create an electric car. Why? It was much higher than him, much bigger than simply making profit. Now, we're not saying that making profit's wrong, but I want you to follow me here. It has to be bigger than you. It has to be bigger than the limited ego. And of course, this goes into what Eckhart Tolle talks about in defining the little me and the big me. Of course, the big me is the one and it's with all. But a lot of times we're stuck in the little me, which is scared and fearful and trying to protect and trying to compete. But if you have a purpose greater than the little you, that is congruent with the bigger you, then of course you'll be focused on that and you won't care. So Elon Musk said that he knew that he only had a 15% success in the automotive, or 15% probability of success in the automotive industry, but he said this needs to be done. Why? To save humanity, to save the planet. We can debate whether or not that is necessarily the case, but it was a purpose that gave him flow and put him into flow. So read any autobiographies for that, guys. It's the purpose that puts you into flow. So, and I'm not saying that you have to do this and you have to work on this. There's no have to here. There's no rules here. This is just something that I have found that's fueled me. So how do you find your purpose, guys? It's very simple. And Trevor Blake talks about it in his book on entrepreneurship. Many business people that I've listened to, I was listening to a person talking about business just the other day, which really got me inspired to sort of even dig deeper into my purpose, which I've always knew, but sort of explicate it. I'm actually going to share it with you here, but they talk about the fact that you find your purpose first, and whether this is starting a business, whether this is embarking on any venture, you find something that really pisses you off. You find something negative. So, for example, and I've thought about this a lot too, say someone wants to open a restaurant. Well, let's say it pisses you off that there are no affordable quality options around, which is a fact in a lot of our cities. That is a great driver to find your purpose. Of course, you can't stay there. You have to then figure out, okay, what's the desire here and what's the state here that I'm trying to change to? And of course, for those who know theory of constraints, this is the basic framework of theory of constraints. First of all, find out what to change. You have to find out what to change. And Eliyahu Goldratt said that the best way to do this is to list what he called NDEs, which are non-desirable effects, or I think it was undesirable effects. He said because humans are good at bitching and moaning, and that's true. So start there. Start with what pisses you off. Make a list, and then figure out what to change to. The what to change to is your purpose, and go deeper, and don't stop until you actually get a feeling of chills and inspiration. So Steve Pavlina said, wait until you cry, and that's something that indeed I've done a few times when I actually found a deep purpose. Then you've found your purpose, guys. Then all you have to do is dwell in that. That is basically your end. Get into the state of that, and then whatever actions you need to take will flow from that. Of course, you'll be taking actions. You'll be making lists. You'll be discovering. You'll be journaling, but you'll be doing it in a state of flow from that purpose. So I want to give you now what my purpose is. See, it's always been in making this channel, and that's why I started with the fact that this channel is not about manifesting. This channel is about something deeper, guys, and it's something that actually has been welling up within me since I was a child. You see, the thing that actually has always pissed me off more than anything else and has actually gotten me into negative states, has gotten me into trouble since my youth, I hate people arbitrarily using power to hurt others. I hate it. And it's driven whatever I've done, sometimes unconsciously and sometimes consciously. It's consciously driving the work I'm doing in this channel. It's driven many businesses. And I want to elaborate on that for a little while. You see, I am a libertarian by political leanings. Many of you may not be, and that's okay. It's neither here nor there, but it does tie into living free also. So, many people, in fact, most people say that they're against, including libertarians, say that they're against tyranny and that they're for the non-aggression principle and that they're for people being free and that they're against arbitrary abuses and exercises of power. But you see, I'm for this in every single institution. So I'm against arbitrary uses of power, whether it be in businesses, because what libertarians will say, and I agree with this on a political level, we can't use force, we can't do this through politics. That's another reason why I'm doing this through my channel, because this can't be done through politics, because it just leads to more arbitrary uses of power just on the other side of the scale. That's the problem. So, but I am against arbitrary uses of power in a business. I hate so much that an employer can tell an employee, do this the way I want you to and when I want you to, or I can take away your ability to procure food and shelter. I can take away your pay. I hate it. And I hate the fact that in jobs and in many work environments and corporate environments, people do things that they would not otherwise do. They treat people in ways that they would not treat people in other forums. People believe that they can oppress people in a corporate forum because they believe it's morally right because, well, this is private property after all. And again, that's true from a political philosophy standpoint. But it doesn't sit well with me, and I hate it. And my job as an entrepreneur is to go out and screw with that and disrupt that. That's what all of my real callings and actions through my callings have been about, sometimes subconsciously, sometimes consciously. I'm here to screw around with the system, of course, in, shall we say, non-coercive ways, which I'm doing. It's through teaching, it's through education, and it's through vibration, it's through using these spiritual tools that I can do it. So if I were to stay there, and I thought about this last week, I've been really pouring through this, that's a negative emotion and that's a negative state. So if you stay there and then you try to take actions based upon what you hate, that's what Vadim Zeland talks about, going against the pendulum. You cannot do that, because if you fight the system just gets stronger. In fact, it likes you to fight it. So what can you do? Well, just like good business sense, just like theory of constraints, just like Eliyahu Goldratt talks about, you take that list of undesirable effects, or UDIs, and then you say, okay, what do I want? What do I change to? And Abraham Hicks talks about this a lot. Don't tell me what you don't want, tell me what you want. And then that's your purpose. So for me, what my purpose is, guys, is equipping people through all of the tools that I can get my hands on and disseminate to being free in their income. Because, of course, there are other areas of, shall we say, coercion. But in Western liberal societies, these are very minuscule compared to the oppression that goes on in corporate circles. So we are relatively politically free. We have relative freedom of speech, even though that can be discussed. We have relative freedom of location. And any problems there, once we solve the corporate issue, once we solve the issue of people's livelihoods, then we can solve those other ones very easily. I want people to have livelihood whether they work or not. And this is going to upset some people. This is probably going to cost me some subscribers. But this is my purpose. This is what drives me. I want any work that someone does to be from a place of inspiration. I no longer want anyone to have to work out of fear. I remember when I was really into organized religion and so on and so forth, I remember listening to a Muslim scholar. Many of you will know him. God, what's his name? He's a very famous Mufti Mink. He's a Mufti. And he said something in a lecture. He said, you see, God does not distribute wealth equally, because then what would happen if someone in a company were to tell someone to do something they didn't want? That person would respond, well, I don't have to do this. You have, and we also have. And I asked myself, okay, what's wrong with that? That sounds great. It sounds great to me that the employee would have just as many resources as the boss, and then the employee could decide whether he or she wanted to obey the boss. What's wrong with that? Of course, spiritual and religious people, organized religious people, feel very threatened by this. Why? Because they want that hierarchy. Why? Because they think they are on the top of that hierarchy, or can get to the top of that hierarchy, and don't want to cede their power. Well, as Elon Musk talked about very recently, guys, society's going this way anyway. Every single person that I've interviewed, including David Allen, including Trevor Blake, including Jim Rogers, talks about the fact that the age of the behemoth corporation is coming to an end, and it's going to get to smaller teams. And what's eventually going to happen, and Lysander Spooner actually foresaw this just due to his knowledge hundreds of years ago, is that every man and woman is going to be his or her own boss. We're going to have the technology finally to do it. We're going to have the tools to do it. But there's going to be a lot of upset in between that. What I want to do, my purpose, guys, what drives me, what excites me, and that's why I love having this channel, that's why I love being able to talk to you and share these principles. I want to give that system a little push, and I want to show people that no matter what is happening in society, no matter that still today huge corporations are dominating, you can be free of a job and a boss. And I mean that very materially. I mean that very literally. You can be free. Now, you can continue going to work for a corporation, but you're going to have FU money, and you're going to have the resources to be able to say, no, I don't want to do this. What I want to do is I want to give people the tools of freedom so that then they can make the choices what to do. I want to end obligatory work, which is a negative way of saying I want to give everyone the freedom to work on whatever inspires them. And guys, that's why you came. If we want to go into the spiritual, we want to go into the metaphysical, you came to exercise certain urges and desires. You came to create something unique. Otherwise, you would not have come. My purpose and mission is to give you the tools to do that. And one of the greatest tools is what I'm talking about in this video right now. What is your purpose, guys? So I want you to do a very simple exercise. I want you to sit down and journal this, and you can do this in a natural setting. That's where I went to do it, or you can take time alone, but you need to take time to think about this and don't rush it. And journal about, first of all, what upsets you the most, because guys, what upsets you the most is most likely tied to a purpose that you came into this life for. And then on the other side of that upset, all you have to do is flip the emotion and flip the thought. You're going to find your purpose. And when you find your purpose, you're going to be in flow, and you'll know you're in flow because it's no longer going to feel like work. In fact, wild horses will not be able to keep you from doing the things that you need to do to get that mission underway. And then there will be no more talk about thought and action and so on and so forth. So I just wanted to make this video. Your purpose is going to be one of the greatest drivers, and that's how you find your purpose. Very simply, figure out what pisses you off the most, and then create the other side of that. And perhaps, and in most of the time, it'll be something that you can get a business started with. That's what we're doing on this channel. So guys, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for sharing the videos. Thanks for liking the videos. I invite you, if you find value in this material, please do hit the subscribe button. Hit the bell button so you get notifications for my videos. I am doing coaching calls. That continues to be a dynamic platform. It is my calling to help people, guys, to help people find their purpose and to help people define the areas of focus that can move them forward in every aspect of their lives. I will put my email in the description. We will talk and we will do business together. So until very soon, guys, much love and appreciation. Ciao.